Hey, what's up guys? So finally got the Cressida running. I didn't film the Maiden Voyage, but the car's running good. It's running great for doing a complete engine swap and auto to manual with having no like reference of how this car ran before I did any of the conversion or the swap. It runs really well. Basically in this video I'm just gonna drive it, and then I'm just going to tell you guys pretty much my impressions of it, how it drives, what I would do differently. Maybe I daily did for about a week, and then I stopped because it started snowing again, you know, typical Minnesota weather. Yeah, hopefully you guys can learn something from this video. Maybe you can decide if you want to do on your own Cressida or not. But yeah, I noticed that most videos on YouTube, they don't really go into any details after the conversion, you know. First start in about a week, should fire right up. Fires right up. Toyota reliability, love it. So yeah, basically my impressions so far of driving this thing is drives like an economy car, you know. It's like really smooth, even though I have eBay coilovers on here. I have some Rev 9 hyper function, I don't know, I forget what they're called, but just some eBay Rev 9 coilovers on here, and surprisingly they run pretty soft. I mean, I do have them pretty much set on full soft. They're like 5 clicks from full soft. They ride pretty smoothly. If anything, they're closer to the stock feel. They're not stiff. They don't make my car feel like it's gonna rattle apart, so that's a bonus. I'd call that a win for eBay coilovers. You know, I mean, granted, technology nowadays is so advanced that even eBay coilovers, I would expect them to have some level of quality, you know. In terms of longevity or reliability, I don't know. We'll see in a couple months, maybe a year or two. But for now, they actually ride really smooth. So we'll keep it at that. So yeah, the car drives like pretty much factory. Like I said, this car wasn't running when I first got it. It was like able to move around onto the trailer and off the trailer, but that was about it. I didn't actually get to drive it for more than a block. I literally drove it onto the back of the trailer, back, and then off the trailer, and that was it. So I don't know how well it drove before, how nicely it drove before, but yeah, this car right now, it feels like factory, except that obviously it's old, so it's not gonna drive like a 2022 car, but it definitely drives like a stock 1990 car, you know what I mean? This drives pretty good. It's not great, but it's not bad. And I got this car for such a good deal that, like, in terms of money, I've got maybe $5,500 into this build, but that's including the body kit, which isn't on the car yet. Without the body kit, I'm $4,500 into this car. It's manual, it's running and driving. I used all OEM parts except for obviously the clutch pedal, but yeah, it drives really nice. I would say drives like factory. Like I said, I've never driven this car when it was in its factory form, so I couldn't tell you how it actually drives, you know, with the automatic transmission and all that, but I would assume not too different. You know, there's no vibrations from the driveline or anything. I think I got everything pretty good, pretty dialed in, you know. The carrier bearing from because the drive shaft is a 2-piece, I used the front piece from the Toyota Supra so that it would slide into the transmission, and then I used the rear piece from the Cressida, and then that puts it right at the perfect length for this chassis. so I didn't have to do any modifications there. Used the stock transmission cross member or transmission mount, whatever you want to call it, but used the stock cross member. So like I said, the stock Supra W58 front drive shaft, or the front half of the drive shaft from the Supra, and then the rear half from the Cressida bolts right in place, no modification required. The engine from the Supra bolted right in. Had to swap oil pans, had to swap oil pump, had to swap engine mounts, you know, stuff like that. I had to swap pretty much the whole harness over if you've seen my previous videos, but it's kind of a given, you know. It's like, it's different chassis, so you have to reuse the parts from the factory chassis in order for it to fit. It wasn't a direct plug and play, but not that big of a deal. This car currently has 53,700 miles on it, which is pretty low. But yeah, I'll give it a little exhaust note for you guys. No vibrations, 65 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. Super slow, but I love it. It's freaking awesome. I have some Evo 10 wheels on here right now, which are 18 by 8s plus 30, either plus 30 or plus 35. They actually are the perfect offset for this stock body panels. So they are like literally right in line with the fenders. So I had to raise the car a little bit from what it was originally. They'll destroy my fenders, you know. One thing that I had to do when I replaced the coilovers is that the coilovers didn't come with the sway bar end links. So then I had to remove the sway bar, because otherwise it'll just be loose on the subframe and it'll just be clunking, hitting everything. So I had to remove the sway bar, and now the front, like I said, I never driven the car before in its stock form, so I don't know how I drove before, but I'm assuming that the sway bars, what they're designed to do is tighten up the front suspension a little bit, you know. So now, like, I feel like when I turn, there's a lot more lean. I don't know if that's an economy car thing or if that is that's because I removed the sway bar. But other than that, it drives pretty nice. Another thing about the coilovers is the rears, they bolted right in, but the fronts, as you guys might know if you already own a Cressida, is that there is no bolt-in application. You know, it's you have to cut your old spindle, because it's the shock, the strut, the whole assembly is one piece with the knuckle. You can either get like S13 knuckles and modify them. I don't know how to do that, and I didn't want to go that route. I might in the future, I don't know, but S13s are getting pretty hard to find now too, so I don't know if I will go that route. So basically you have to weld the knuckles in, or not the knuckles, you have to weld the coilovers in. These are eBay coilovers. I didn't know if I would like the way they ride, so I didn't weld them in. What I did was I drilled some really big holes through both the shock body and the knuckle assembly, and I put a big bolt through it. You know, I put 2 big bolts through it in a cross pattern per coilover. That was to minimize like any like play in the coilover assembly, and it, for the most part, it rides really nice. But right around 65 miles an hour, and with like inconsistencies in the road, like, you know, little bumps or little waves or whatever, the coilover will vibrate at just the right frequency where it'll, like, you hear like a slight clunk. Not a big deal, because I know where the issue is coming from, but definitely something to consider. Since I do like the way they ride, I might weld them in. They discontinued these coilovers, so I don't know if they'll ever come back or not, which is a good thing why I didn't weld it in too, because I knew that this might be an issue, you know, with, for one, if I would like the coilovers in the first place, and for two, like, if I weld it in, I I'm stuck having to use that coilover forever. And now if they're discontinued, definitely will not be finding any replacements. Just a budget setup, so I will probably eventually throw BCs on here, although I do know BCs run a lot stiffer. Just from experience, I don't know how they'll ride on this car, but from experience, BCs do tend to ride pretty stiff. So we'll see how long these coilovers last. If eBay restocks them, I might buy like 1 or 2 more sets, because I can pretty much buy 2 sets for the price of 1 set of BCs. Yeah, with the muffler setup that I put on here, I don't know if you could tell, but it's pretty quiet. Like, I can't... Okay, there goes that... I don't know if you can hear that clunking, but that's the clunking from the coilover. But, yeah, the exhaust, it's super quiet, which is the whole reason why I threw that muffler on here. Because I took that off of my RB26 RX-7, like I said, and that thing was quiet. Like, this car, initial start, you'll hear it, obviously cold start, but after idling for like 5 minutes, you can't even tell the car is on. So I love it. It's not drony. I'm not like going deaf, just trying to drive my car. But yeah, my speedo works, my tach works. I think I might need a new thermostat, because the car does heat up, but it takes forever to get warm. Like right now, the car isn't even at the halfway mark yet. Like, the engine's not fully warm yet, which it's not normal, obviously, but it's probably just a bad thermostat. The car currently doesn't have AC yet, because obviously there's no more R12 refrigerant. I have to convert this to R134. And that's not a priority for me right now, so I think I will leave the bad thermostat, or maybe it's just a low temp thermostat, but I'll probably leave that in here for now. Anyways, you can see all my gauges are working. Like I said, my temp gauge is not fully up to operating temp, but it's still working. 53,000 miles on the chassis, at least. I don't know how much is on the engine. Definitely consider manual swapping your Cressida if you have one. It's not that hard to do. It's a long process for sure, especially if you don't really know what you're doing. That was my first time ever doing a manual swap on a car ever, so I had like no prior experience coming into this, except for a couple of YouTube videos. And so I don't expect it to be easy for anyone, because it obviously won't be easy, but it's not going to be impossible. Pretty straightforward concept. You know, you need the clutch pedal, you need the transmission, obviously you need the master cylinder reservoir, and you need the drive shaft. You know, pretty much like just the gist of it. I reuse my stock auto ECU, because newer cars you probably can't do this, but these older cars, I don't think the transmission or the ECU cares about what gear it's in. You know, it just probably assumes it's in gear 1 the whole time or whatever. It'd be a lot easier if you found a whole like drivetrain assembly from a Mark III Supra. R154 would be ideal, but the W58, if you get the whole drivetrain, like the drive shaft, the transmission, you know, the shifter, the cross member, and all that stuff, pretty straightforward swap. Definitely highly recommend doing. Definitely makes this car very enjoyable to drive. So I'll do some exhaust clips for you guys, and then we'll conclude this video. So thanks for watching, guys.